Hello everybody, it's Kara from Wild Book Garden, and today I'm here to announce that I'm going to be participating in the Read for Maui readathon. If you are participating, you are going to be reading books by Native Hawaiian authors. You can also read books by Pacific Islanders or by authors who are from the Caribbean or whose ancestry is Caribbean. And the hosts have also said that reading a nonfiction about climate also would count for this because those things have a very big impact on Native Islander populations. And similarly to the Trans-Rights Readathon, there are also a lot of ways that you can do the fundraising portion of this. You can do it per book read, you can do it by the number of pages you read, you could do like a set amount. It's really open. It's just about like raising funds and raising knowledge about the devastation that is happening in Maui right now. The Maui Relief Effort Readathon is created by the Queer Collective Book Club on Geneva, and it's branching out to a lot of other platforms and bookish platforms as well. And as it says in their information, using our love for reading to garner support, awareness, and monetary donation to help those affected by the wildfires on the island of Maui. I'm going to link all of the information they've put together below, including their mission statement, participation guidelines, and they also have like a recommended book list for reading for Maui. So there's a lot of great resources that they put together. They also have a link to the organizations that they recommend donating to, and part of the fundraising and raising awareness is also recommending books or like boosting other content, creating content that is related to books by Native or Pacific Islander or Caribbean authors. So before I get into my TBR or my like possible reading plans, I'm going to run very quickly through some book recommendations. So these are books by authors that fit into those categories that I have really loved and recommend. I am not Native Hawaiian or in any of these groups myself, so I can't speak to that representation aspect, but these are books that I just think are really, really wonderful and I would highly recommend them. This is going to be kind of rapid fire style, but if you want more information on these, there are a lot of people who have talked about these books, I think most of them, and also there are videos on my channel where I have talked about these. So I want to recommend Where the Rhythm Takes You by Sarah Das, who is Sarah Das grew up in Trinidad and Tobago, and this is a contemporary reimagining of Persuasion that I always talk about as being the only Persuasion retelling I acknowledge. I love the main character, really great backstory development of the romance and also like continuing development of the romance, and the friendships and family relationships I also think are very complex and very interesting, and the setting is just beautifully described. I also want to recommend King and the Dragonflies by Case and Callender. I actually reread this one very recently and I loved it just as much the second time. Case and Callender was born on St. Thomas, which is one of the Virgin Islands. This is a beautifully told story about the intersection of racism and homophobia, and it also deals a lot with grief and yeah, just like the complexities of growing up. I think it has a really beautiful balance of realism and hope, and I just think it's absolutely incredible. Audre Lorde has Caribbean ancestry, and I just recently read her collection, The Master's Tools Will Never Dismantle the Master's House, which is absolutely incredible, like absolutely lives up to that title, and she's like one of the foundational like Black feminist womanist scholars, and her work is absolutely fantastic. Dear Haiti, Love Elaine, which is by Maika Mulit and Maritza Mulit. This is of course set in Haiti, that's where the authors are from as well, and this is a really, really interesting genre blend. It's a contemporary, but there's also kind of a mystery aspect. There's like family drama, family history involved. Like it's just a really, really fascinating book. Very compelling. I really love the main character and like her voice, her narrative voice. I feel like it's one that got a lot of buzz when it came out, and I don't hear people talking about it as much now, but I really recommend it. I need to read more things by these authors as well. And then Ebi Savoy is another author who I have really enjoyed the things I've read by her. She is from Haiti, or her ancestry is Haitian, and I really enjoyed Pride, which is her Pride and Prejudice remix. I know a lot of people had like mixed feelings about it, and generally the consensus seemed to be that if you really love Pride and Prejudice, you probably wouldn't get along with Pride, but I love Pride and Prejudice and I still really enjoyed Pride. It's a look at gentrification, like it uses Jane Austen's story to look at gentrification and classism, and I just thought it was so smart and really interesting. Lauren Blackwood is an author who is from Jamaica, or her background is Jamaican, and I have only read one of her books, but I do want to read her other one. The one I have read is Within These Wicked Walls, which is a really interesting take on Jane Eyre, and it is set in Ethiopia, and I really liked it. It was such an interesting book, and it's definitely on, I guess, I feel like it's kind of on the looser side of a retelling, but I really liked it. I'm not a fan of Jane Eyre, so I don't know if maybe your experience with this one could vary depending on how much you love the original. I did like a whole reading vlog kind of about that, but I thought it was a really, really interesting story. And then lastly, the last book I have to recommend is Notable Native People. And specifically, I'm recommending this. So the author is Adrienne Keene, but the illustrator is Ciara Sana. And she is originally from Guam. She is Chamorro, and the illustration is absolutely gorgeous. And it's a really great way to learn about people from a lot of different Native groups and populations. And one thing that I think is very cool is that this book, I think, it feels like it focuses especially on Native Alaskans and Native Hawaiians. Native Hawaiians, as they prefer to be called, is Kanaka Maoli. So I think that is really cool as well. So really recommend all those books, and there are lots of other places to get recommendations as well. The readathon is running from the 14th through the 28th, although I might just go through the end of the month. Probably I will end up doing that, and my plan is that my family and I are going to be donating $5 per book that I read. So I'm just going to talk briefly about some books that I might be picking up. I have Black Enough, Stories of Being Young and Black in America, edited by Ebi Savoy, and this is a collection of a lot of different short stories. I think they are all contemporaries, and they're all about being Black in the US, and I am only realizing now as I look over the list of authors again, but like some of these are my favorites. Rita Williams Garcia, Varian Johnson, Daniel Clayton I really enjoy, Jason Reynolds I love, so I'm extra excited to get to this. Then I have Rise of the Jumbies by Tracy Batiste. This is the second book in a trilogy, and Tracy Batiste is from Trinidad, and this is actually a present from my friend Bendy. I caught Between Pages, and I've been meaning to continue the series for a while. I've heard that this one is even better than the first book, and I am looking forward to that. One that I've been meaning to read for ages, I have Where Dreams Descend by Janella Angeles. This is kind of a loose take on Phantom of the Opera, or it has like Phantom of the Opera vibes and also Moulin Rouge vibes is what I've heard. And Janella Angeles, I believe, is from the Philippines, or her background is. And I've heard like a lot of good things about this and also some mixed things, so I'm very curious to see how I get on, but I am a fan of Phantom of the Opera, so that's exciting. Then I have one where I did not even realize that the author, like her background is from Barbados until I was looking at like book lists of things that I might want to read. The Best of All Possible Worlds by Karen Lord. So this is a very quiet, very character focused, kind of like sociological take on a first contact story, or not first contact, but like aliens and like different kinds of like beings, like getting to know each other better, and what's the word I'm looking for? Ambassador, I think. And I heard about this because Beautifully Bookish Bethany did a reading vlog of, I think it was books by, recommended by Literature Science Alliance. Angela, that's her channel, and this was one of them, and I hadn't heard of it before, so I am really excited to get to this. Then I have an author where I actually have a couple books that I could read for her. One of them is A Death-Struck Year. The author is Makia Lucier, and this is a book about the 1918 flu pandemic, which we'll see if I am feeling up to reading something like this yet, but I do think it'll be a really interesting story. And the one that I might prioritize for this author is Year of the Reaper, because I'm currently having a blast participating in the Amazing Readathon, which is run by Brianna at Four Paws in a Book. And Year of the Reaper is on the host favorites list, which means that you get a little like incentive for the challenge, and it's also on my list of 12 books that I want to read that were recommended by 12 friends. Brianna actually recommended that one to me, so there's a lot of reasons coming together in addition to the fact that I really think I'm gonna love that book. Then I picked up Joe and Lori by Margaret Stoll and Melissa De La Cruz. Melissa De La Cruz is also a Filipino author, and this is a lot of people just like hate the existence of this book. I've talked about this before, that like when this book was announced, like the rage and vitriol was like kind of astonishing, but this is a Little Women retelling, and I will warn you guys now that it is a romantic retelling that pairs Joe and Lori. So if you hate that idea, this is probably not the book for you. And I haven't had the best luck with some things that I've read by this author, by Melissa De La Cruz, but it's been a really long time since I read something by her. So, and this premise just sounds really interesting to me because like Little Women is not one of my favorite classics, and one of the reasons is that I basically don't like any of the romances, so I'm curious to see if this one wins me over. And I have been planning to do a Little Women retellings vlog for a very long time, and this would be a great time to get to it. And then I also have a book that is kind of representing a few different books that I could pick up, that I want to at least read one of them. But I have Climate Optimism, Celebrating Systemic Change Around the World by Zara Biabani. So this is obviously in the climate nonfiction category, and I actually have several books dealing with climate that I really do want to prioritize. Of course, this one is like more on the optimistic side, in that it is looking at some of the things that are already working and that we should continue to do and do more of. So obviously there are a lot of like climate problems happening now. Like, of course, the suffering in Maui is a prime example of that. So books like this are not meant to like, everything's fine, don't worry about it. But I do think it is important to remind people that there are still things that we can do and should do. Like, we shouldn't give up. Like, I also want to read All We Can Save, and then there's like a couple other kind of climate nonfiction books that I would like to prioritize. And then this one is kind of a tentative pick for this list because I'll have to double check. I think some of the contributors are Pacific Islanders or like from the Caribbean, but again, I will have to verify that. But this is The Art of Being Human, edited by Tahani Croft with Stephanie Lai. And this is I backed this on Kickstarter, and this is a collection of a lot of different stories. I don't know if there's like a unifying kind of genre or like concept. It says this anthology seeks to remind readers of the hope and beauty of the arts, and the way our engagement with writing, music, film, theater, artworks, and all media, and craft of all kinds are at the core of our humanity. And this is specifically, this was like created in like as a response to COVID and the pandemic, and like this deals, I think, with that a lot. So just know that if you're thinking about picking this one up. But I think this collection, like the themes and the ideas, are going to really resonate with me. And then I also will be reading Kape Mahu, which is, I don't remember who the author or illustrator is, but I will put up a picture of that here. And this is a picture book that I have heard absolutely incredible things about. It's based on Pacific Islander and possibly Kanaka Maoli as well. Like legends and stories and like oral history, and I've heard incredible things about it. So this one is by Native Hawaiian authors, and I am very excited to read it. And then also, I have read, like a while ago when I was much younger, I have read a couple of books that were about Queen Liliuokalani, who was the last monarch of the Hawaiian kingdom. Like the end of her reign was the end of the era of Hawaii as being a sovereign nation after, like before American colonization and everything. And so I would really like to read an account of the creation of the world according to Hawaiian tradition, which is actually translated by Queen Liliuokalani. So she actually like translated several really important works. And so this work is about what it says in the title. It's about like the like folk knowledge surrounding that. And her translation is viewed as being the most like true to the original, which of course makes sense because she is translating a work of her own people. So I would definitely, I hope to be able to get to this one. I don't know if I think my library might have some kind of digital copy, or I think it might be one that you can read online because it is out of copyright. Okay, everybody, I was probably talking very quickly in this video, but these are the books that I am hoping to read as part of raising money for the Read for Maui initiative. I will link all of the information on how you can join or how you can participate down below. And if you are not able to like personally donate, that is also okay. There are other ways that you can get involved by boosting other people's content or other people's reading, or by having other people kind of like sponsor your reading. Like, there's a lot of different ways that you could go with this. Like, there are a lot of different ways that you can contribute to raising awareness and resources for the people in Maui. Let me know if you guys are going to be participating. Let me know any books by Kanaka Maoli authors that you have read, because I feel like I don't have, like, I have recommendations or TBR books that are by Native authors, by Pacific Islanders, by Caribbean authors, and I only really have a couple that are by Native Hawaiian authors. So if you have any recommendations for those, I would love to hear them. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you soon with another video, and I hope you love the next book you read. Bye!